EJ Hradek, NHL Network, first shift on NHL Network, joins us on the Adam Gold Show at EJ Hradek _NHL. All right, sir. Your thoughts on this series through 4 games, and I trust you had a good day yesterday.
Yeah, I had a really good day yesterday. As we discussed via text, I played golf with my son.
That's awesome.
Brooks. And so that's always, as you pointed out, it's always a good day when you can do something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, we had a nice time. And, through the 4 games, Carolina's been the better team. And they deserve to be up 3-1. And I thought Spencer Carberry made a great point last night in talking about his team. And, and I see this in all the series, and I really see it in the Toronto-Florida series, is that, these are all good teams.
Yep.
And it's the final 8, and the games are going to be close, and there's going to be situations in the game. It's situational hockey where you cannot afford to make a mental mistake, and it happens, and that's because it's always going to happen, but, the team that makes it at the wrong time ends up losing. And I think that the experience, in terms of the playoff experience, the Carolina Hurricanes, Adam, we've been having these conversations for several years now, right?
Yep.
They have experience, and that the Washington Capitals, they have some guys like Alex Ovechkin that have a lot of experience, but they have many others who have none. So I think it's, Carolina has been the better team, and they've taken advantage of these opportunities when they've arisen.
All right, there's a lot of things we can discuss. Carolina's depth has certainly been big, and we'll get to that. On home ice, but also even in Washington, Spencer Carberry hasn't really tried to avoid the Stahl, Martinook, and now William Carrier line. And they basically took Dylan Strome, Alex Ovechkin, and Tom Wilson kind of out of the game last night. There were moments, but nothing sustained and nothing all that dangerous. In fact, Ovechkin probably passed up his best shooting opportunity that wasn't on the 5-on-3 when he made the pass to Strome, which was really the right play, and Anderson made his best save of the night.
Yeah, listen, Spencer Carberry is another guy, Adam, like Spencer is a really, I think I've really been impressed with him as a young coach in this league, but he has not been into the fires of being the head coach in a National Hockey League Stanley Cup Playoff series. This is only his second or his third, I guess. He was part of one last year, albeit a very short one against the New York Rangers. And so, he's learning as well. These are all part of it, and we'll see if he has any wrinkles or changes up his sleeve on home ice when he gets the last change. But, that team has been a team that right from the start of the year was very good. They kind of ran away and hid in the East this year. They won by a wide margin, and, he probably feels very confident in his players. But you get into these situations in the playoffs, it's just different, as you know. And, like I said, I give the Carolina Hurricanes a lot of credit. I thought going into this series, I thought Washington's a big, strong team. They've had a really good season. And Logan Thompson, I think, for the most part, has played well.
Yeah.
But, the Carolina Hurricanes just flat out played better in my mind. They've just, they've been more consistent. And they've really taken away a lot of time and space and made it hard for the Capitals. And, and even when the Capitals have responded, the Canes have managed to come back. Last night was a great example.
Yeah.
It gets to 2-1, then it gets to 3-2, and in both cases, the Canes find a way to score. So, they're in obviously a great position up 3-1, and I think, like I said, this series could already be over, actually. They've played well in all the games.
EJ Hradek is joining us here in the Adam Gold Show. Going through the series against the Devils, we talked to a Devils reporter before every game, and the theme for Sheldon Keefe was they need more depth scoring, they need support scoring. It can't be just Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, and players like that, and the Devils weren't able to get it. Really could say the exact same thing for the Capitals. They've basically not gotten production from the bottom of their lineup, the bottom 6, whereas Carolina is getting points from the blue line and they've gotten contributions from Jack Roslovic, who scored a big goal. It was a power play goal, but a big goal in Game 3. Taylor Hall was playing on Carolina's third line or so. He scores a big goal, and they have like 7 or 8 goals from the blue line. So that's really where Carolina is separating itself.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at last night. I mean, now you get an empty net goal at the end, but I mean, like I looked through the group here. I mean, almost everybody had a point.
Yeah.
In the game. I mean, so that's really good news for the Hurricanes. And you're right; they're getting a lot of these depth scoring, and it was like William Carrier, a smart ad. And I like when I see smart additions to teams. I mean, he's part of a championship team in Vegas, a team that he was part of that went to 2 Cup finals in his time there. He's a big, strong guy that's perfect for the playoffs. He's not going to play a ton of minutes in a game, but he's going to help you win board battles and be a good role player for you. And they've got, guys that fill different spots within their group that are playing well right now. Now, I would say that the path in the Metropolitan Division was quite frankly the easiest path.
Yes, it was.
But listen, at the end of the day, somebody has got to emerge, right? And the Washington Capitals are down 3-1. They probably thought this is great for them, and here they are, on the wrong side of that. So, good for the Hurricanes. They've been knocking on that door for a while. They've got still work to do with the Washington Capitals because, as we know, it's just hard to knock teams out, and it can turn around. We've seen it. But, I've been impressed. And, Freddie Anderson has played well, and he's been healthy for them, and especially in the second round here. So, those are always the questions, Adam. We've had this conversations for years.
I know.
I mean, will the goalies hold up? Now, if I think looking ahead, because that's what we do in this business, right? If the Carolina Hurricanes finish things up and can win this spot into the conference final, I would tell you straight out, I think they have a good chance against Toronto because it seems like they've seemed to have played well against Toronto historically.
Yeah.
And I think they would have a lot harder time with Florida. And, the Florida's are defending champions, but I look at the Florida Panthers and I just think that's a bad matchup for Carolina. So unless something changes dramatically. So, I mean, that's the way I see it. But, the good news is for the Hurricanes, they're taking care of business right now. And they're getting, as you point out, a lot of guys are chipping in, and it would be a kick in the tail if this is the year they go all the way to the end in a year where there was, the Rantanen situation and other things that went on. I mean, this is why we love sports, and it's great storylines, and, we'll see where it goes. But they've played very well, through the first series plus here, well into the second round.
We are literally, EJ Hradek from NHL Network is joining us here. We are literally 3-4 weeks away from the Stanley Cup Finals, like even beginning. I think 3 weeks away from it even being close, right? So, but it would be borderline hysterical if it were Dallas, Carolina. It would be hysterical if that were the case, but I'm not going to even think about that. I think Dallas is going to be there, although Dallas-Edmonton will be a fascinating, because I think that's where we're headed. Before we get to the Mikko Rantanen show, and I want to touch on that before we get out of here. Florida-Toronto, to me, has been fascinating. I thought Sergei Bobrovsky in the first 2 games in Toronto was, at best, mediocre. And I thought that was, nobody wanted to talk about it, but that to me was the difference in those 2 games, is that Bob just wasn't that good. He got good in the third period and overtime in Game 3 and was excellent, even though he didn't see a ton. I thought he was excellent in Game 4. I thought the better goalie, of course, was Joseph Woll, who was amazing for Toronto, gave them a chance. That game could have been 6-0. That's how good Florida was. But I thought Bob was excellent in Game 2, Game 4 as well. Who do you give an edge to? Is the pressure so great on Toronto, or does this look like a different team?
I think it's a different team, but, Adam, and thinking about this over the last couple of days and watching games 3 and 4 and watching Mitch Marner make a situational error in Game 3. They're up 3-2, and he's in a good position in the D zone. There's a battle at the blue line, and he blows the zone. They lose the battle, 2-on-1, tie game.
Yeah.
Game 4, it's 1-0, as you point out. Wall is giving them every chance to hang in the game. Nylander in the neutral zone, circling, tries to make a play with the Florida Panthers stacked up. The puck goes the other way. Bennett scores 2-0. Game over.
Yep.
Right? So when I think about those things, like these are not guys in their first playoffs. These are guys that are deep into their career now. I mean, like they've played in the playoffs for the last several years. I think Toronto has the longest streak of consecutive appearances in the playoffs, oddly enough, right? And all I can say is, and this is maybe going to sound severe to say, but like, I think really Toronto management to have stayed with Dubas and Keefe for so long was such a critical error, because these guys have come a long way this year in 1 year under Berube, but they still have things to learn years into this now, because they were just things that were not part of their game under Sheldon Keefe. And some of the players that they acquired under Dubas were just guys that don't play well in the postseason. So, like, to me, they should not be having this painful learning experience here, 8 and 9 years into, their playoff careers, but yet it still happens. And, we'll see if, they go to the tape. I'm sure Craig Berube sits down with these guys, coaching staff sits down, and they look at it. I mean, it's a hard game. I mean, it's like watching, playing Florida or playing in these games generally, to me, is like watching a baseline tennis match where two guys are at the baseline just hitting it back and forth over the net, right?
Right. Pucks
in, pucks out, pucks in, pucks out. Soon as you try to go for that winner, you better make it. Like Nylander tried to make that play to Tavares, and like it didn't work, and the puck kicked the other way, and there goes Bennett. Like, the games are tight, they're tense. Like I said, Carberry brought it up last night. And, like, for me, to go back, like, the Toronto Maple Leafs, with all the kind of resources they have to stay the course with those guys for as long as they did, I just don't understand why they did it. And, and maybe, like a Sheldon Keefe, he's gone on to New Jersey, he's done okay. I think he's an okay coach.
Yeah.
But I've never been someone that felt like Sheldon Keefe was going to be confused with Scotty Bowman or Toe Blake. I mean, I just didn't understand, why they went with him so long. I think Berube's done a good job. And to get back to your question, I think the Leafs are a different team this year. They have some different personnel. They are in the battle. They are physical. But the problem they have is the Florida Panthers are just better at doing those things than they are. And they let Game 3, which was a winnable game, slip away.
They did.
And so now they're in a 2-2 game situation. They've got a tiger by the tail. The Panthers are playing better now. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm not going to count the Leafs out, because I've been very impressed with the way they have battled and stayed with it. They're just going to have to try to make, not make those mistakes when they matter the most.
All right, final thing for E.J. Hradek, real quick. We could talk about Rantanen. He's a great player. He's one of the 5-6 best players in the world. But this series has boiled down to, and really Winnipeg stay in the playoffs, has boiled down to Connor Hellebuck has his mask on backwards on the road. That's the only thing I can come up with. I can't fathom how he could be good at home and so bad on the road, although maybe it's his team in front of him. What do you make of that?
Well, I think he was better in the last game against Dallas, right, on the road. It was a 2-2 game. They had that strange goal that was scored. And in the end, by the way, 7 minutes to review that was like, I mean, somebody should call the police. I mean, that was ridiculous. To me, that's not a kick. And like, I've been to the GM's meetings every year. That's not a kick. That should have ended right there. It should have been like literally one look, and it should have been over. But instead, what happens is they get into super slow motion like hell, and they try to find things that aren't there. So at any rate, they did play. He played better. They played better in that game. But listen, at the end of the day, in the first round, I kept saying as long as they win their home games, they'll still win the series, and that's what happened. Albeit they had to go right to the end of their last home game. In this series now, they've lost at home that no longer applies, right? So they're going to have to find a way to win in Dallas. I think the series will rest on what happens tonight. I think if Dallas wins, they're obviously in a great situation. It looks like Heiskanen is going to play tonight.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go 11-7, which makes sense because he's been double-shifting Rantanen a lot with the fourth line anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see if Winnipeg can find a way. This is a good Winnipeg team, but Dallas, get back to that. They were deep in the last year. They've been deep in a couple of playoff runs.
Yeah.
They're a better team now than they were last year with the addition of Rantanen and now with Heiskanen coming back. So, Winnipeg's going to have to find a way to win one of these games in Dallas, and my advice would be try to do that tonight to get this thing tied up. But I'm really happy to see Miro Heiskanen back in the lineup, and I'll be curious to see how he performs, having been out for some 3 months now.
Yeah. EJ Hradek, NHL Network, at EJ Hradek_NHL. First shift on NHL Network. Thank you very much for your time, sir. We will talk again, I'm sure. Hopefully this run will last at least a few more weeks.
I got a feeling it will.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I do too.
Right.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Adam.
Take care. EJ Hradek here on the Adam Gold Show.